From the minute we wake up in the morning to the minute we go to bed at night, we are surrounded by advertisements for anything and everything you can imagine. Whether or not the ads are simple or elaborate, they are around us everywhere. Simply in walking the streets of New York, logos and slogans of top fast food restaurants to high end fashion companies surround us. Products and brands from a variety of different companies are showcased in hopes of connecting with the people. Although so many companies make the same products, only a certain few intrigue us depending on the way the product is portrayed. In the past century, advertising has endured a great transformation in the way it attracts people. Originally, advertising took a one size fits all approach in reaching out to the people. There was no need to be overly elaborate on details or to compare the product with others because at that time there really was only one product of that kind out there. At the beginning of the century, new methods of communication were developed, allowing companies to connect with more individuals with potential interest in their product. As the century went on, more modes of advertising were introduced. Print ads soon expanded to being in magazines and newspapers as well. About 30 years later, advertisers slowly shifted from newspapers to radios. Radios remained the prominent source of advertising until the end of World War II, when TV became the new in thing. Since then, TV has remained to be the main avenue for advertising. Along with the number of forms of media growing, the forms themselves have each grown in volume. There are now over 1,700 TV channels and 14,700 radio stations. By the late 1920s, advertisements started to focus on clear product claims backed by market research. The advertising industry received great budget cuts, forcing the industry to create a more effective way to reach the consumers. Market research offered an avenue in which the industry could position advertising, along with consumer behavior and attitudes. Around the mid century mark, advertising took a more creative approach. Artists and copywriters joined together to make more appealing advertisements due to the increasing competition between different companies. Unlike the beginning of the century, competition between different companies was now on the rise, thus putting a great emphasis on being unique. In order to achieve a sense of uniqueness, advertisements have transformed from being scientific in nature to more artistic. The makers of the advertisements involved more images and deleted the written information. More attention was placed on the design elements and color that would appeal better to a group of people and draw them to the advertisement. Along with a perfect balance of artistic elements, advertisements began to blend cultural and social trends to appeal to the target audience. These trends have become apparent through the use of social media and the top searches generated by the people. With such access to information, brands no longer find consumers. Consumers find brands that best fit their personal needs. Because consumers are now in control of which brands they find, companies have to make brands more appealing to the consumer, ones that offer emotional appeal, differentiation, a unique selling proposal, positioning, and storytelling. Around 1910, the first Woodbury soap advertisement was released. The slogan, "A skin you love to touch," proved to have a psychological effect on the consumer, emphasizing a certain gratification the product would bring to the consumer. The emotional appeal of the product was able to entice the consumer into purchasing the soap. As companies developed, more and more brands developed as well. As more brands developed, so did the competition between the brands. They all seemed to offer the same thing, and advertisers began to put a great emphasis on comparing their product with another one of its kind, focusing more on what made theirs different. Rosser Reeves was the first to introduce a unique selling proposal. He was able to show the consumer how a certain product could offer a benefit that was more than just quality and convenience. His iconic M&M ad went beyond proving the candy to having better quality and convenience than ordinary chocolate by claiming that the candy would not melt in one's hands. He was able to offer a different approach on how this particular form of chocolate was a better fit for the consumer than regular chocolate. As the competition between different brands increased, marketers began to proclaim their position and what the brand stood for to shape the consumer's perception on the brand. Positioning offered the consumer a brand closest to their personal values and one that would relate to them the best. Throughout history, stories have played an important role in advertising. Offering the consumer a scenario relatable to themselves gives them a sense of belonging. As the digital age has developed and advertising has become more than just print ads, storytelling has become more significant in selling the product. Consumers have grown to want a product that can relate to them, one that will fit into their lives. With the new development in digital ads, advertisements have offered some sort of connection with the product and the consumer. They have also become memorable because of the catchy theme songs or phrases. Those ads that tend to stick to our heads are the ones that will remain in our personal lives for years to come. Just like any other artist uses paintings or photography to portray their viewpoint of the society, the creators of advertisements use advertisements as their media to spread the viewpoint they have on the world. Artists and advertisers both have the ability to stir up emotions within the viewer, and as a result are able to leave an impression in their heads. Similar to art, advertisements offer an insight to a different kind of life, whether it is simply an addition to real life or a fantasy. Advertisements tend to claim that buying this or buying that could result in that ideal life everyone dreams about. This idea of offering the consumer a close to perfect life is a force that has kept the advertisement industry rapidly developing for the past years and will continue to keep it going for many years to come.